Holy cow. Welcome to Donnie's Hangout Adventures. I almost forgot about this. Because as you know, me and my wife have been dealing with a lot lately. So I almost forgot about that this death happened yesterday. And I've been wanting to do it. And yes, it's one of the pioneers of wrestling passed away at 79. Superstar Billy Graham. You know, I've always have said Superstar Billy Graham does not get the credit or the recognition that he deserves. There's no question about it. Superstar Billy Graham was 30 years ahead of his time. Oh, yeah, no question. You look back at his promos, oh my God, in today's age, or the Attitude Era, or any era, he would have been over. He would have been over with his promos. He was one of the first, before Hogan, before Flair, before any of them, there's Superstar Billy Graham. He was one of the first to do those heel promos. He was one of the first to do those. And crowds were booing him out of the building with his promo work because he would say stuff like, "I'm the man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour." Did genius get his inspiration from Billy Graham? I think so. I'm the reflection of perfection. And Hogan stole this from Graham. Nothing wrong with that. Wrestlers have been doing this for decades. What you gonna do when the superstar comes down on you? Of course, Hogan took that to newer heights and with his promos, and all that. But Graham was way ahead of his time. There's no question about it. Yes, he was in the WWF. He had his disputes with the McMahons, which has been well documented. I don't want to get into that. I do not. He was a one-time WWF champion. Should have been more. It should have been more. And yes, it's been well documented, and it was probably the reason for his health decline later in his life of steroids. But when you look at his look, my God, Scott Steiner, remember his look that he got? That he stole from Graham. Yes, Billy Graham, no question. He would pose like this and like this. Billy Graham was doing that way back in the 70s. That is being ahead of his time. Scott Steiner took it to new levels. But if Graham did that in the 90s, and let's say it wasn't Scott Steiner, but it was Graham, he would have been over like Rover. Graham, I've always believed, was born in the wrong decade. I really do. I think Graham would have been over in any decade. Yes, in the 70s he was huge, but think how huge he would have been in the 90s. Think how huge he would have been. He had the physique. He had the promo skills. The guy had it all. He was so far ahead of his time, and I have always said Graham is one that doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. A lot of legends have been paying their homage, have been paying their respects, like Hogan and Flair and many, many others. And Graham, it's unfortunate. He did die. He was 79. But I really don't have much more to say about this. It's just that we lost a pioneer. I really believe he was. He was so far ahead of his time. We lost one of the legends in the wrestling business. And Graham is just one of those that don't get talked about much. He really does it. When they talk about wrestlers of the 70s or even the 80s, Iron Sheik comes up, Bob Backlund comes up, Nick Bockwinkel comes up, Hogan comes up. Graham, never gets mentioned. Should he be on the Mount Rushmore? I don't know. I don't know about that. That's a whole different topic. But as for being ahead of his time with promo work and his physique, heck, Jesse Body Ventura probably stole some of that from Billy Graham. That's the mark of a legend. When future wrestlers who want to become legends try to emulate a former legend, that's when you know you were a legend officially. And no doubt, Graham was ahead of his time, and he doesn't get talked about enough. He doesn't. I'm sorry, but he does not. And well, that's about it. You know what? Rest in peace to one of the legends of the wrestling business and one of the pioneers of the wrestling business. I know I said pioneers in wrestling. WWF goes, if I said too many W's. Goes way back to the 50s and 60s. But I do believe that Graham is a pioneer with his physique and with his promo work. I really, really believe that. I think that if it wasn't for Graham, there's a lot of wrestlers you probably would have never heard of because they pretty much, styled their promo work and their physique after Graham. But you know what? Rest in peace and condolences to the friends and family. And well, another legend up there in heaven, building their own stable. And hopefully Billy Graham up there has his own stable and he's the leader of it. But how did he say it? Let's end this with I'm the man of the hour, the man with the power. Too sweet to be sour. That's all, folks.